Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is my fourth video. We're going to be talking about a storm that's going to impact the Northeast. This seems to be a reoccurring theme for this November. It almost feels like we're in January, February right now. Reoccurring theme, a lot of storms to cover for this the past few weeks. A lot of storms have impacted the Northeast, mostly towards the interior, but personally I think that's going to start to change as we head into December. Stay tuned for another video about a December update and some coastal storms that are possible for Philly, New York City, Boston, all possibly getting in on the snow opportunities over the next couple weeks. Now, before we start, if you guys haven't seen my winter forecast video, that's my first video that was up, recorded about a week ago. You guys should go check that out. It'll give you a overview of everything that's going to happen over this winter. Also, if you guys could hit that like button and subscribe, as it'll really help me out as a growing channel. Starting off, we have a closed low pressure system off the coast of the Carolinas. Very heavy rain associated with this system. I'm sure if you're living in the southeast, you know there's been a lot of rain, some wind along the coast, as well as lowering pressures off the coast, signaling that we are getting a developing low pressure. Now, this is the GFS model for Friday night, so about right now, 0Z. For right now, you have some very heavy rain along the coastal Carolinas. You're starting to get some wind flowing in towards that low pressure. And look what we have in just north of Michigan. We have a high pressure. That's going to be the cause for a lot of the mischief that goes on with this system. It's going to be responsible for a lot of the possible wintry precipitation. Moving on, now you can see our high pressure has started to slide east. This storm looks like it's about to escape. Look, there's no more precipitation in the southeast. Now this is Sunday night into Monday morning. A lot of precipitation has escaped the southeast. Our storm looks to be moving safely out to sea, but since our high pressure has moved over, it's going to really start to block this low pressure from being able to go out. And you see we have these 500 millibar thickness lines starting to crunch in towards the southeast. That's going to show you that this storm right here is starting to get pulled back towards the northwest. I knew about this threat a couple days ago. I tweeted about it on my Twitter. If you guys haven't yet, go follow me at Mike B. Weather on Twitter. I do a lot of model analysis on there, and that's where the majority of my posts go, but I do a much more simplified version here. But anyway, we have a trough dropping into the eastern United States, going to provide some cold air and lock in that cold air, especially for northern areas, and we'll get an ice threat. But that's something we'll talk about in a little bit. So we have this developing, strengthening low pressure. Look at the millibars, 991. Last frame we were at 1008, so um, we've dropped almost 20 millibars, 17 millibars, 18 millibars, to 991. So we're getting a strengthening low pressure. Isobars are getting tighter. We're starting to develop stronger winds around the low pressure, and we have a trough dropping in. Instead of this storm escaping safely out to sea, we're going to start to pull everything back towards New York City, Philadelphia, Boston. And with that high pressure in place, you're funneling. Look at these isobars. Look where they're crunching down to, towards the southwest. This is a perfect signal of cold air starting to be filtered in at the lower levels. This is a huge cause for concern, definitely with an icing threat, and it's something we're going to really have to keep a lookout for over the next couple days. Zooming into the Northeast, now this is late Monday night into early Tuesday morning. Look what's going on. We still have a 991 millibar low pressure. Look at these isobars. Look how tightly packed they are. You're going to get some strong winds really all up and down the coast from North Carolina, Delaware, Maryland, eastern portions of Virginia, New Jersey, New York City, you're all in it, Boston, up through coastal Maine, everyone's going to be getting in on some strong wind. And a lot of these areas, especially further south, still have a lot of leaves on the trees, and that's going to be cause for concern, definitely for some power outages, especially in areas further south, as it doesn't take much wind and rain to blow trees down, especially come late fall, as we're in right now. Now, remember how I talked about that cold air? Look at this 500 millibar thickness line. Look where we are, starting to push its way further south. What does that mean? Oop, my apologies. What does that mean? Look at this ice that's starting to build. This pink is all ice. The blue is snow, green is rain, pink is ice. Now, what exactly does that mean? Basically, we have a snowflake that starts in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It falls, it hits a level that's above freezing, it melts, and then the surface, the ground, is below freezing. So it hits the ground and freezes, and that's how we get freezing rain. It is arguably the most dangerous form of precipitation. You go outside, it looks like it's just raining, but that rain is really freezing on contact because the ground is below 32 degrees. It's incredibly dangerous. It's really a silent threat because you cannot, it's hard to see it accumulating unless you're outside watching it. It's not like snow where you could really see it pile up. And then on roads, it looks perfectly fine. This is textbook how you get a lot of black ice to form. So this is the beginning stages of the overall threat. Now, moving another 6 hours ahead in time. Now we're in early Tuesday morning. Look at this. We have a lot of cold air funneling down through the Hudson Valley, western Massachusetts, through Vermont, New Hampshire. Look at these dark pinks starting to get into purples here. This is a signal for very heavy freezing rain. Look at this 500 millibar thickness line, the 540 line. It's starting to continue to move southward, and look what we're getting. Northern New York, we're actually getting some snow, and northern Maine, we're getting some snow developing. So we're getting enough precipitation to cool the whole atmosphere to allow it to snow. But in areas where we cannot cool the whole atmosphere yet, we're still getting a lot of ice. All this green is rain, but it's going to be rather close call for the coastal areas. So I'll keep you updated. Our pressure is down to 990 millibars. We have strong winds in Nova Scotia, eastern Maine. But the big story here, in my opinion, I believe, is the ice. You're going to get a lot of ice accumulation in these areas. I'm really worried about eastern New York, western Vermont. Those areas have a high chance of seeing a lot of ice developing, even some heavy. Now, moving forward in time, our low pressure starts to depart to the east, and look at where our 540 thickness line is now. We're moving even further south. Look at places that are developing the snow. You have moderate heavy snow, western Vermont. You have very heavy snow in northern Maine. So it's really a race against the cold air of how fast can we get it to change over to snow. Now, what's incredibly dangerous about this threat is that we could possibly start piling snow on top of the ice that was already accumulated. That is incredibly dangerous as it weighs down power lines even more, brings down more trees, especially with the wind. We still have rather close isobars. You're probably gusting 20 to 30 miles an hour. It's not going to take a lot to bring trees and power lines down, especially in these areas, northern and interior New England and New York. Very dangerous situations developing. We could get an all-out snowstorm in northern Maine. I don't think they're going to see much ice. However, I think the big story is going to be the icing threat. Now, moving on, this is the 3 kilometer NAM model. Disregard how low the pressure is. It's not really useful for that. What we're really interested in is the air temperature and where it has the ice. Look at where it's funneling this ice down to. Look, we have it funneling all the way down the Hudson Valley through northern New Jersey. Look at this. A lot of ice developing the southern Hudson Valley, northeast Pennsylvania, central New York, western Massachusetts. This has the chance to be a very big threat for a very large area. Ice is nothing to play around with. It's a very dangerous type of precipitation. And it's definitely something I'm going to be keeping an eye on over the next day or so. This model doesn't go out much further. However, it is very cold, and it's a rather reliable model, especially the temperature profile. So it's showing all these areas in the pink below freezing. And if we go back, you see this model is only showing it for northern areas. This model is showing it much further south, much closer to New York City, Philadelphia, and Boston, the major cities and the major players here. So overall, very dangerous threat that we need to keep an eye on. Now, I do have my forecast at the end of this. However, I want to go over one more threat, the wind threat. This is the NAM model as well. We're gusting 40 to 50 miles an hour. At this point, the low is just inside the 40-40, the benchmark, if you will. A lot of people call it that. This is where a lot of New York City, Boston, Philadelphia's biggest storms are, but there's just not going to be enough. A little too much warm air is going to invade these areas to keep them at ice or all snow. However, the threat for coastal areas is going to be the coastal flooding and the wind. You're gusting 40, 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour in Montauk, Cape Cod, coastal Maine, and coastal New Jersey, coastal Delaware. Very strong winds, especially for fall when a lot of leaves are still on trees. You could get a lot of downed trees with that, which in turn bring down power lines. So definitely another threat that we all need to keep an eye on, besides the icing threat for the interior. The coast is still at risk for some damage. Now, this is my overall forecast. The green is mainly rain. This is subject to change. We're still a few days out. The storm setup is for the 18th and 19th, which is Monday into Tuesday. A lot of these areas are going to be raining all day Monday. A lot of the green areas. Not too big of a deal, shouldn't be too much rain, maybe a little more rain over Boston, half an inch to an inch, nothing too crazy. Now you can see down here we have our low pressure and it strengthens as it comes up the coast. This is going to cause definitely power outages, especially worried about Maine with power outages as they're going to be in on the ice. With a strengthening low pressure system. Now, just north of New York City, I have ice to rain. So these pink areas are areas that are going to start out as freezing rain and ice, but likely change over to plain rain at some point. So definitely a big threat for power outages in these areas. However, these areas do look to change over to all rain, which will melt some of the ice that was initially impacting. The areas that I'm really worried about are northern New York, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and northern Maine. These areas look to get into prolonged periods of icing. We could see ice up to half an inch, maybe even more in some spots, especially worried about Lake Champlain between New York and Vermont. Very dangerous situation looks to be developing over the next couple days. You know that I will keep you guys updated. I'm going to have another couple of videos out tomorrow. Make sure to follow me at Mike B. Weather. Tomorrow I'm going to be coming out with a big video about how December looks to go and about why you need to keep an eye on the Thanksgiving forecast. It looks like there could be a really big storm, another nor'easter, this time with Boston, New York, and Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. in play. All right, that's all for now. If you guys could hit that like and subscribe button, if you guys enjoyed the content, I'll keep you up to date on every storm that comes to impact the Northeast and East Coast. Once again, having a couple videos out tomorrow. Follow my Twitter at Mike B. Weather if you want some more updated content, some more in-depth model analysis. Otherwise, you guys have a great day. All right, bye.